Hey you geeks! My discovery of Till We Have Faces was a very happy accident. My church's young adults group decided to read it this fall. I, who thought I knew Lewis, was shocked to hear of this book. It's a retelling of Eros and Psyche, my favorite myth. In short, Aphrodite gets jealous of Psyche, the most beautiful princess in Greece. Eros takes Psyche as his wife, provided she never sees him. Psyche's sisters come to visit and convince her she's married a monster. Psyche brings a lamp to the bedroom, sees she's wed the god of love, and is exiled from his palace.
Bang! I like King. Oh, that's another story. Never mind. Anyway.
Till We Have Faces tells the story of the jealous sister. It's what Disney's Maleficent wishes it was. The story of a sympathetic villain who learns to love, truly love, the beautiful princess over the course of an entire story. Though to be sure, it's a myth, not a fantasy. On to the breakdown, with spoilers for a book whose title gives away the ending. Characters. The characters all realistically stand in for philosophies and express their own personality, though our perspective is limited to Orwell's, and she veils her own eyes so as not to see them clearly. At first, she acknowledges that other characters have their own personalities, and she has nothing nice to say about them. As her story goes on, the characters become less their own people and more her possessions to do with as she pleases. Orwell. There is a strong argument that she is the book's primary antagonist.
Nope. I'm the bad guy.
Though there is an argument that the real villains are her abusive father and the gods themselves. As it is for fear of the gods killing her that Orwell decides to cheat them and do it herself.
That doesn't make sense.
Not to physically kill herself, but to remove her ability to love and be loved, that which she considers to be of Orwell. First, by veiling herself, then challenging a foreign prince to a duel of champions, then, when she wins that, naming herself the queen and smothering all she considers to be Orwell deep inside her.
Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know.
A psych ward nurse in my reading group informed me that Orwell does not have dissociative identity disorder, rather borderline personality disorder. The more you know. Although her queenship is just, she takes no joy in it. After the gods intervene, she admits she had been wrong all along. The Fox. A slave, yet a fine tutor of Greek philosophy with a, he would say, shameful love of the poets. At first, Orwell was very keen to find out.
What does the fox say?
I couldn't help myself, yet it's true. In her childhood, her only happy times were with the fox, learning from him, though she credits Psyche with most of that joy, and one may wonder how much she learned. At the midpoint, she notoriously disregards more than half of his advice to trick her sister into betraying a god. The queen frees him, but Orwell, that part of her which she thinks can love, refuses to let him go. The queen heeds him insofar as to govern her country, not her heart. Only through divine intervention does Orwell listen to him again and find love in the world. But how the fox found it for himself, besides dying, we never know. The King. Her father is a hateful man, written as accurately as any domestic abuser I've read. Beating Orwell one moment and then begging her forgiveness the next, and of course, blaming it all on her. He is the first to call her ugly and has the backhand to make it so. Once veiled, she finds the courage to stand up to him. Eventually, the gods kill the king, but the queen grows to wish she had done it herself.
My rivals will fall as my power ascends.
Like the fox, the king appears in her final vision, and even offers to teach her about the gods. How he came by this knowledge, we never find out. The priests. There are two. The old high priest of the goddess Ungit, who smelt of blood, incense, and holy things. He terrified Orwell, not just his bearing, but his immovable faith. At one point, the king juts a knife between the priest's ribs, threatening to stab him. The priest doesn't flinch. Later, it's revealed when bringing Psyche up the mountain to be sacrificed, he had her drugged to keep her quiet. I wonder how much of his faith relies on what he knows to be smoke and mirrors, and how he could stand firm against a tyrant. The second priest, Arnhem, took the position of high priest after the Old One's death. Although not a bad man, it might be said, is the only character who we never see meet the gods. Bargia. An honest man stuck between two women, his wife and the queen. He treats the queen with respect, pulls her out of despair, teaches her the sword, to ride, and serves her honorably his whole life. And all she did was hate on him because he also loved his wife. His death is a great force in driving Orwell to reevaluate her understanding of love, for which I and Orwell are extremely grateful.
You have saved our lives. We are eternally grateful.
Yeah, whatever.
Istra. Lewis cut himself some slack when characterizing Psyche as perfect beauty personified, since from Orwell's perspective, that's exactly what she was. He indulges in the irony that the more perfect Psyche becomes in the eyes of the gods, the more hateful she appears to Orwell. As a human, and even as a wife to a god, Psyche is wise for her years, yet still fallible. She is famously persuaded to bring the lamp in to spy on the god, even when she knows he is not a monster. After all, she is married to him, and she can, unlike Orwell, see his palace. But for love of her sister, she brings in the lamp and destroys her happiness.
The tigers come at night with their voices soft as thunder.
She overcomes her trials through her ability to be loved, her cleverness, her kindness, and most important of all, her learning not to let her love be overtaken by lesser things. The ability to be loved is not usually considered a unique character trait. Since Orwell spends her whole rant denying that she could be loved, Psyche's mastery of this trait is quite remarkable. Worldbuilding.
That which we call a rose, by any other name would smell as sweet.
The names in this world are quite ugly. The kingdom's name is Gloam, which could be read gloom. It lies on the banks of the river Shennet. The lead's name is Orwell, which is basically unpronounceable, even after hearing the audiobook. Her sister's name, Redival, looks like Red Evil, and the goddess who stands in for Aphrodite is called Ungit. Yes, a git. A British insult.
Oh, yeah? Manky Scots git, I'm warning you.
The god standing in for Eros doesn't get a name at all, but is referred to by his title, the god of the Grey Mountain. The only person with a nice name is Istra, and the lead often refers to her as Psyche, which is even prettier. Psyche refers to Orwell as Maya, which is also pretty, but it doesn't see a lot of use. Then in the second half, Orwell is gone, replaced by the Veiled Queen. All of these choices coming from the man who gave us Narnia.
Narnia? What's that?
Oh, dear girl, you're in it.
Paints this world as very dull and gray. While the characters feel real enough, the world isn't grimdark, but it's not pretty. Orwell hates it all, and her hatred of the world pervades the whole setting. Magic. I'm developing a theory on the difference between mythology and fantasy. In fantasy terms, they are stories that hinge on the unwritten soft rules of the universe, such as how blood sacrifice to the gods makes the crops grow. When whole plots of fantasy stories are solved by such unexplainable contrivances, the reader rightly calls them deus ex machina. In myth, that's the whole point. Myths tell of divine intervention without attempting to explain it. Till We Have Faces straddles the line. Its characters try to explain the unexplainable. Orwell regularly complains about, well, everything, but she reiterates that the gods changed her past, making it seem that she truly knew her sister had married a god, when she swears she did not. Orwell eventually concludes that the gods did change her past, though the reader is free to conclude that she was deluding herself the whole time. This is not so much a magic system as a profound insight that defies clear explanation. Lewis wisely kills off Orwell before she can make her revelation clear. The endnote written in World by Arnhem indicates that he read the whole book and had no idea what she's talking about. Frankly, it's a mystery that can be pondered but never rationally explained in whole. Thus, Till We Have Faces, despite its realistic characters and relatively modern writing style, is not a fantasy. It is exactly what its cover says it is, a myth retold. Plot. Orwell is the eldest daughter of the King of Glome, an utter tyrant and really a terrible father. Upon the birth of his third daughter, he stabs a servant for dropping a platter of wine. The king does not suffer failure, and all that. Despite her lowly place as an ugly daughter, Orwell becomes well-educated and well-trained in the art of war. When several plagues strike the country, the high priest sacrifices Psyche to the god of the mountain. Orwell does not take this well. First despairing, then resolving to go bury her sister. After seeing her sister happy in a holy place, which is more likely than not the home of a god, Orwell decides she'd rather see her sister dead than happy. So she goes all Portia, wife of Brutus, and stabs herself to convince Psyche to bring a lamp into the bedroom. After this, she is cursed to become Psyche, whatever that means. Then she despairs again, resolving never to love or be loved.
No good deed goes unpunished. That's my new creed.
Veiling her face, ostensibly to hide her ugliness, she stands up to her father, then takes over as queen, winning a duel and marries her middle sister off. She becomes a legendary warrior queen of a prosperous, if not small, nation, and is utterly miserable, refusing to
Loved me, or her, or anyone, or anything.
On a journey to a neighboring kingdom, she discovers a small temple to her sister, Psyche, the goddess. Orwell is infuriated to discover she has been cast as the villain. So she books it home, running her entourage to near death to set the record straight. After she yelled at the gods give their answer. She sees that she was wrong, then dies. Happily ever after. Resolving the plot by blatant divine intervention gives a very direct answer to the plot's driving question. Yet the answer itself is a mystery, giving readers fodder for endless discussion. It's not a fun story, but it's a good one. Very good. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you would like to see more. Your patronage is greatly appreciated.